So, it's been a while since I've uploaded, hasn't it? Sorry about that. Anyways, we're going to be diving into the next Marooned Development Log series. Specifically, we're going to be talking about the RPG combat system of the RPG game. Specifically, we'll be talking about the initial inspirations of the game, from the basic stuff to the prototyping phase, all the way to the finalized product that you've probably seen in the original video. I'll also be breaking down how I built the systems with the technical explanations for those who want to see the game under the hood. Anyways, with that out of the way, let's just get into the video. So, before touching any code, we probably have to talk about the game design, since that's pretty important. Since players spend most of their time fighting in this game will have to feel intricate, it will have to feel smooth, and it will have to be fun. My main inspiration from this specifically came from two places. First, Deepwoken, since I really liked the Deepwoken direct combat style, and the risk versus reward of parrying versus blocking. The next game I liked was Absolvement. I specifically liked the fluid animation and the diverse swing speed that game offered, because it fixed the choppy animation problem that Deepwoken had and will make our game feel more polished. Now that we've got this vision out of the way, however, let's get to building the actual systems. Alright, so the first step isn't actually coding this, it's actually going to be gathering all the assets. Since I'm not really much of a builder or a modeler or an animator, I'm actually going to need to grab other people's stuff that's open sourced because I don't really feel like doing that. So for animations, we're going to go to Row VFX. This is really good. They've got a lot of really good open source things, so I grabbed some open source swords, specifically some one-handed, some two-handed swings, and then for VFX, I checked the toolbox and found Liam's combat VFX. These are really good and give me the feel I was looking for with the Deepwoken style of VFX. Alright, now that we're on to the scripting, we need to talk about mechanics, specifically the weapon equipping system. In Roblox, there are two major ways I've seen to handle weapons: keybinds and tools. I personally chose using a keybind, since this saves the inventory space and will prevent the player from quick swapping or abusing the cooldowns. So to make this work, I used a system called Motor 6Ds, which is a variant of welds that is easier to animate for animators, and also will make it so that I won't have to struggle with the current Roblox welding system. So what I did is I made it so that the Motor 6D would automatically make the weapon show up on their player's hip as soon as they load into the game. This is actually based on a current weapon attribute, which will make swapping animations really easy to implement, and will also make it easy to implement weapon changing and scripting really easily. Alright, so for the most crucial part of this system, the attacking logic. To do this, I decided to make the M1 system based off of animations and animation events. So what I specifically did is I made a combo manager, where pretty much the player would have 4 different M1 variants. So that would be your 1, 2, 3, and 4 attack, with the 4 attack being a really strong knockback. Next thing I focused on would be hit detection. To do this, I made a hitbox system, where a hitbox that would be invisible would be welded to the player. And every single time somebody went inside this hitbox that hasn't been hit previously on the same attack, would be hit with the damage corresponding to the weapon's damage attribute. Next would be actually triggering this. To do this, I used an animation event system, where whenever the animation event would be hit, the hitbox would visibly show up. This would only be visible on the server side, however, because I did not want players on the client side being able to see what hits. Unless this will be toggleable by a setting later, which I might make visible for the people who actually will use it. Alright, so now, to actually handle the hitboxes, what I did is I used animation events. This would be a keyframe that the animator would manually add into the system, which would tell the game the exact moment that the hitbox should turn on. This makes sure that the damage matches perfectly with the swing, making the combat feel tight and responsive. Alright, now remember, as a once famous person said, a good combat system always needs a counter. That wasn't actually a philosopher, but rather me. Taking inspiration from Deepwoken, however, I implemented a tight parrying window system, where if you would hit your block perfectly, you would deflect the attack perfectly, leaving the opponent open for a counter hit, and also would make it so that the damage would be entirely negated from that attack. However, if you hold the button, you block. Yeah, I mean, that's all you really do. It just reduces damage, but drains your posture. Balancing these two is key, making sure that the combat feels like a chess match rather than just a button masher. Alright, so we've got ourselves a decent combat system. However, if you remember earlier in the video, I was going to add unique features. Right now, the combat's a bit of a ripoff. It feels like a clone of Deepwoken and Absolvement, and that's exactly what I'm going to fix right now. So, let's add some mechanics and make this an actual system. Alright, so first system I decided to add would be a clashing system. This is inspired by the Rel C's combat system, where this system basically checks if both players are attacking simultaneously, and if they are, it applies a really strong backward knockback to both players and kind of plays a clashing sound. And maybe some VFX with an external VFX. This system is intended to add a little bit more flavor to the combat system and make it feel more unique. So instead of players just endlessly spamming at each other, it would create a bit of a reason for you to be able to have to time your attacks perfectly, or else you would have to face a huge clash. The next feature is more of a fine-tune, specifically focused on parrying. Before this, I felt like parrying was too required or even a bit too easy. To fix this, I changed the requirements entirely. Now you have to block and press M1 at the same time to parry. This is the exact same as the original Deepwoken direct combat system. It adds a little bit of risk and reward into the system and makes parrying much more risky, but it also feels more rewarding when you actually land the attack. And it will make it so that the skilled players and the normal players will have a bit more of a gap in skill. Alright, so with that finally out of the way, it seems we finally have a finalized combat system. From really basic systems to even our own really cool unique systems, we finally have a really great combat system. But before I end the video, I thought I might as well show you what the system looks like. So, with that out of the way, let's showcase the actual system. Alright, so, I hope you all enjoyed this video. This is the end of the video. I didn't really make a really good outro. So, if you want to see more of these longer style development log videos, please leave a like and subscribe. And also, please comment down below which video style you like. Do you like these more edited, shorter videos, or do you like these longer breakdowns with the more gameplay and the less editing? And also, I was curious if you all would be wanting to see live streams, as I'm starting to consider the thought of live streaming my development process and just my general thoughts. So, if you all would like to see that, please comment down below, and please just let me know what you all think. Anyways, I will catch you all, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!